Now let's talk about research on group conformity. Again, conformity means that you're trying to fit in. You're trying to fit in with others. And again, groups have a great deal of influence over the behavior of the individual. So groups are able to get us to conform to the expectations of the group. So there's been lots of research that's been done on group conformity. And some of those researchers have found out some very interesting things about how people will act in the presence of others. One of those individuals was Dr. Solomon Asch, who conducted an experiment to find out whether or not group pressure would be enough to get someone to conform to choosing the wrong answer in an experiment. So let's look at how an experiment is set up. Usually, now forgive me, I'm not an artist, I'm a sociologist, so I'm not that great at drawing. But experiments oftentimes involve the subject, typically what they call the naive subject. Naive in the sense that they don't know exactly what's going on. So the naive subject versus the confederates of the experiment. The confederates are people who have been instructed to act a certain way to see if they can get the subject to act the same way. So in Solomon Asch's experiment, he set up a visual test. And there's actually a link that I have after this one that I want you to click on so that you can see how this experiment worked in real time back in the 1970s. So there were a list, there would be a picture, of lines of a certain length. So on one side of the card, there would be a line of a certain length, like this one here, A. And then he would instruct each one of the individuals to select the line on this side of the board that came closest to this in length. So from where you're sitting, which of these lines, 1, 2, 3, or 4, comes closest to A in length? Well, if I drew it correctly, it would be 3. Now, what would happen is, they would do this a few times. On the first 3 trials, the Confederates would pick the right answer. And typically, Dr. Asch would set up seats, maybe 7 seats in a row. And the subject would typically be in the 4th or 5th seat. So there would be 3 or 4 people that would give their answer before they gave theirs, and then there would be 2 that would follow. So on the first trial, the Confederates would pick the right answer, and the subject would as well. And then there would be another trial, right answer. But on the third trial, or maybe the 4th, the Confederates would pick the wrong answer. So they would look at this board and they would say, let me shorten this one a little bit. They would all pick 1 when it's obvious that 3 was the right answer. So he would change the cards out. It would be a different line of a different length each time. But after a while, the Confederates would start deliberately picking the wrong answer. And when they would select the wrong answer, they found most of the time the subject would also select the wrong answer. So without any of these individuals even saying a word, nevertheless, the subject, to fit in with the group, would pick the wrong answer. So I want you to look at this clip. And when you do, on the next video, there's something that I want to explain that was very important about this experiment. So take a look at that clip now.